Module 5, Special Issues in Criminal Justice, Juvenile Justice Reform. Juvenile justice reform is a broad term encompassing various efforts to improve how the juvenile justice system works. These efforts typically focus on reducing the number of incarcerated juveniles, increasing the use of diversion programs, and providing more treatment and educational opportunities for juveniles in the system. Juvenile justice reform became an issue of public concern between 1980 and 2000. There are several reasons why juvenile justice reform is essential. First, juveniles differ from adults in several ways and should be treated differently by the justice system. Juveniles are more likely to be impulsive and make mistakes, and are less likely to understand the consequences of their actions. Second, incarcerating juveniles can have negative consequences for their development. Children who are incarcerated are more likely to reoffend, and are more likely to have difficulty adjusting to life after release. Several different reform efforts have been implemented in recent years. Some of these efforts have focused on deterrence. For example, some states have implemented zero-tolerance policies that have increased the number of children arrested and incarcerated for minor offenses. Other states have implemented blended sentencing programs that allow juveniles to be sentenced to juvenile or adult facilities. These are based on deterrence, on the idea that if children are punished harshly for minor offenses, they won't reoffend more serious offenses. Antisocial youth are individuals who engage in behaviors that are harmful to themselves or others. These behaviors include aggression, violence, vandalism, theft, and substance abuse. Antisocial youth often have difficulty following rules and conforming to social norms. They may also have problems with impulse control or emotional regulation. Several factors can contribute to antisocial behavior in youth. These factors can include genetics, because some research suggests there may be a genetic predisposition to antisocial behavior. Environment. Antisocial behavior can be learned through exposure to violence or other antisocial behavior in the home or community. Trauma. Traumatic experience, such as abuse or neglect, can increase the risk of antisocial behavior in children. And mental health disorders. Mental health problems, such as conduct disorder or oppositional defiant disorder, can also contribute to antisocial behavior. Oppositional defiance disorder is characterized by a persistent pattern of angry, defiant, and disobedient behavior. Conduct disorder is a more severe type of behavior disorder, characterized by repetitive and serious violations of the rights of others, or central age-appropriate norms and rules. Clinical depression is a mood disorder, characterized by persistent sadness, emptiness, and hopelessness. Alexithymia is a personality trait, characterized by the inability to identify and express emotions. Of course, all of these mental health problems can contribute to delinquency and criminal activity amongst youth. IAP model. The IAP model, or the Integrative Approach to Problem-Solving model, is a model for understanding and addressing antisocial behavior in youth. The model was developed by Drs. David Altshuler and Terry Armstrong, based on the idea that antisocial behavior results from a complex interaction of factors, including individual, family, and environmental factors. The IAP model identifies 5 key components of antisocial behavior. Problem behavior, which includes the specific behaviors that are considered to be antisocial, such as aggression, violence, vandalism, theft, and substance abuse. Risk factors. These are the factors that increase the likelihood of antisocial behavior, such as genetics, environment, and mental health problems. The third is protective factors. These are the factors that decrease the likelihood of antisocial behavior, such as strong family support, positive peer relationships, and practical coping skills. 4 is interventions. These strategies can be used to address antisocial behavior, such as individual therapy, family therapy, and group therapy. And finally, outcomes. These are the results of the interventions, such as reduced problem behavior, increased protective factors, and decreased risk factors. The model is a comprehensive model that provides a framework for understanding and addressing antisocial behavior in youth. The model is based on solid evidence and can be used successfully in several settings. The IAP model has several advantages. It's comprehensive and considers multiple factors that contribute to antisocial behavior. Second, it's based on a solid evidence base, effectively reducing antisocial behavior. And third, it's a flexible model that can be adapted to different settings and populations. The IAP model has also been criticized for being too complex and challenging to implement. However, the model does effectively reduce antisocial behavior and is valuable for understanding and addressing the problem. Goals of the IAP model include 1. Preparing youths for progressively increased responsibility and freedom in the community. 2. Facilitating youth community interaction and involvement. 3. Working with both the offender and targeted community support systems. And 4. Developing new resources and supports where needed. The National Incident-Based Reporting System, or NIBRS. The National Incident-Based Reporting System is a crime reporting system developed by the FBI in 1988. It's more detailed and comprehensive than the Uniform Crime Reporting System, which was the previous standard for reporting crime. The NIBRS is a form of crime data collection created by the FBI, but it requires local police agencies to provide at least a brief account of each incident and arrest. The system collects data on each incident, including the crime type, the victim's date, or the crime's date, the time, the crime, the location of the crime, the victim, the offender, and any property stolen or damaged. NIBRS also collects data on the crime's circumstances, such as whether the crime was drug-related or if the victim was a stranger to the offender. NIBRS is a voluntary system. Only about 30% of law enforcement agencies in the United States currently use it. However, the FBI is encouraging all law enforcement agencies to adopt NIBRS, and the system is gradually being implemented nationwide. The system's data can be used to understand better the nature and extent of crime in the United States, and it can also be used to develop more effective crime prevention strategies. It's also a flexible system, and can be customized to meet the needs of individual law enforcement agencies, and can be used to collect data on various crime topics. The system is also more reliable than the previous system, as it uses a standardized data collection format, making comparing data from law enforcement agencies easier. On the other hand, the NIBRS is more complex than the old UCR system, and can be difficult for law enforcement agencies to implement. It also requires more resources, as agencies need to invest in training and equipment to implement the system, and they also need to dedicate more staff time to collecting and submitted data. Despite the challenges, benefits of using NIBRS outweighs the costs. It's a more comprehensive, flexible, and reliable system for collecting crime data, and it can be used to understand better the nature and extent of crime in the United States. Terrorism, multinational criminal justice, and global issues. The psychological, socialization, ideological, and alienation views are all theories proposed to explain why terrorists engage in criminal activities to achieve a political end. On the other hand, the biological view is not a widely accepted theory of terrorism. The biological view of terrorism suggests that terrorists are motivated by biological factors, such as genes or brain chemistry. However, there's no specific scientific evidence to support this theory. Most experts believe that terrorism is a complex phenomenon that is caused by a combination of social, political, and psychological factors. Here are some of the other theories that have been proposed to explain why terrorists engage in criminal activities. The psychological view. This view suggests that terrorists are motivated by psychological factors such as desire for power, attention, or a history of abuse. The socialization view suggests that terrorists are motivated by their social environment, such as exposure to violence or lack of opportunities. The ideological view suggests that terrorists are motivated by their ideology, such as a belief in a particular cause or a desire to overthrow a government. The alienation view suggests that terrorists are motivated by alienation or isolation from society. Of course, all of these can combine to be partially the truth. Globalization. Globalization creates a global economy through transnational markets and political and legal systems. Globalization is the process of increasing interconnectedness between people, companies, and governments around the world. It's characterized by the spread of trade, investment, technology, and information across national borders. Several factors have driven globalization, including advances in transportation and communications technology, the decline of trade barriers, and the rise of multinational corporations. There are many benefits to globalization. It can lead to economic growth, improved standards of living, the spread of democracy and human rights. Globalization can also promote peace and understanding between different cultures. However, globalization is also associated with exploiting workers in developing countries, the widening gap between rich and poor, and job losses in developed countries. Because globalization is associated with hardship for some groups of people, it can cause people to resort to criminal activity. Keeping wary of the effects of globalization is thus also a crime prevention strategy. Tactical intelligence. Tactical intelligence is a type of intelligence that is focused on providing information that can be used to make decisions. It's typically used by military commanders, law enforcement agencies, and other organizations that must respond quickly to changing circumstances. Tactical intelligence includes gaining or developing information related to threats of terrorism or crime, and using this information to apprehend offenders, solidify targets, and use strategies to eliminate or mitigate threats. Tactical intelligence is gathered from a variety of sources, including human intelligence, signals intelligence, and imagery intelligence. Human intelligence involves gathering information from people who know the target area or adversary. Signal intelligence involves collecting electronic signals, such as radio traffic or satellite communications. And imagery intelligence involves collecting target area images, such as from satellites or drones. Once the information has been gathered, it's analyzed to identify patterns and trends. This analysis produces intelligence products like reports, maps, and briefings. Decision makers then use these products to decide how to respond to the situation. For example, a military commander might use tactical intelligence to identify enemy forces' location, strength, and likely intentions. The information could then be used to plan a military operation. A law enforcement agency might use tactical intelligence to identify the location of a criminal suspect, the suspect's associates, and the suspect's likely movements. This information could be used to plan a raid or arrest. Irish prisoner reform. As criminal justice reform is a social movement that waxes and wanes in popularity, let's look at an example of prisoner reform from Ireland. Irish prisoner reform has been a long and winding road. The first significant reforms began in the 18th century, when the Irish imprisonment system was based on solitary confinement. This system was based on the belief that isolation would rehabilitate prisoners and deter them from reoffending. However, the system was found to be ineffective and cruel, and was eventually abandoned. In the 19th century, there was a shift towards a more rehabilitative approach to prisoner reform. This approach focused on providing prisoners with education, training, and other opportunities to help reintegrate them into society. However, this approach was also challenged, as many prisoners were resistant to change, and the resources available to prisons need to be expanded. In the 20th century, there was a renewed focus on prisoner reform. This focus was driven by several factors, including the rise of the welfare state, the increasing awareness of prisoners' rights, and the growing body of research on the effectiveness of different approaches to rehabilitation. As a result of these reforms, the Irish prison system has become more humane and more focused on rehabilitation. However, there is still much work to be done. The Irish prison population is still relatively high, and there are concerns about the quality of education and training programs available to prisoners. Walter Crofton was an Irish prison reformer who introduced the marking system in the 1850s. The marking system was a system of rewards and punishments that allowed prisoners to earn their release by accumulating marks for good behavior and work. The marking system was based on the principle of reformation, designed to help prisoners become productive members of society. High technology crimes. High-tech crimes use computers, computer networks, and other electronic devices. These crimes can range from relatively minor offenses, such as hacking into someone's email account, to serious felonies, such as identity theft or cyber terrorism. Types of high-tech crimes include hacking, which is an unauthorized access to computer system or network. Hackers use this access to steal data, install malware, and disrupt operations. Cyberbullying is the use of an electronic communication to bully or harass another person. This can include sending mean or threatening messages, posting embarrassing photos or videos, and spreading rumors online. Identity theft is stealing someone's personal information, such as their name, social security number, or credit card number. This information can then be used to commit fraud or other crimes. Cyber terrorism is using computers or computer networks to commit acts of terrorism. This can include launching cyber attacks against critical infrastructure such as power grids or financial systems, or spreading propaganda or misinformation online. Impact of high-tech crimes. High-tech crimes can have a significant impact on individuals, businesses, and society as a whole. For individuals, high-tech crimes can lead to financial loss, emotional distress, and even identity theft. For businesses, high-tech crimes can lead to data breaches, financial losses, and reputational damage. For society, high-tech crimes can undermine the trust in the digital world and lead to increased security risks. Several things can be done to prevent or at least decrease high-tech crimes, such as using strong passwords, which are essential to protecting accounts and devices from unauthorized access. Software updates can also include security patches that can help protect devices from known vulnerabilities, not sharing personal information with people that you don't know or trust, and being aware of the different types of high-tech crimes and how to protect oneself. Securities and Exchange Commission. The SEC is a federal agency regulating the United States securities markets. The SEC regulates Wall Street activities. This includes the stock market, the bond market, and the derivatives market. The SEC aims to protect investors, maintain fair, orderly, efficient markets, and facilitate capital formation. The SEC is an essential regulator of Wall Street activities. Its mission is to protect investors, maintain fair, orderly, efficient markets, and facilitate capital formation. The SEC's powers help ensure that the securities markets are fair and transparent and that investors are protected from fraud and manipulation. The SEC has several powers to regulate Wall Street activities. These include prohibiting fraud and manipulation in securities markets. This includes insider trading, market manipulation, and false and misleading statements. The SEC can require securities to be registered with the agency before being sold to the public. This helps ensure that investors can access accurate information about the securities that they buy. The SEC can also investigate and enforce securities laws. This includes bringing civil and criminal actions against those who violate the law. The SEC is therefore an important criminal justice agency as part of its portfolio of duties. Offenders who violate insider trading and other securities rules are often sentenced to many years' imprisonment and fined millions of dollars. Without the enforcement of securities rules by the SEC, it would be impossible for investors to have confidence in our financial markets. Thank you for viewing our course on criminal justice. We hope that you follow up this introductory course by studying our other materials in this discipline. Best of luck on the final exam, and please let us know if you have any questions or feedback.